Hello everybody, it's me Anuja and I'm here with my friends Sneha and Hana to present a seminar on the topic interviewing skills and counseling skills. Before that, we must know what actually is an interview. An interview is a purposeful conversation between two or more people that follows a basic question and answer format. Interviewing is more formal than most other conversation because it has a preset purpose and uses a focused structure. There are many kinds of interviews. The employment interview is one such interview that we all are likely to face in our future. Some other formats are information gathering interview, counseling interview, interrogatory interview, radio television interview, and research interview. And each interview follows a format. Once the objective of the interview are established, the interviewer prepares an interview format. The basic format, regardless of the interview's purpose, is divided into three stages: the opening, the body, and the closing. We would now discuss these three stages briefly. The opening of the interview. The opening of the interview involves establishing a relationship or a rapport between two communicators. The purpose is to make the interviewee comfortable. Generally, the interviewer starts the conversation and does most of the talking at the outset. This serves two functions, and it establishes the goal of interview and gives the interviewee time to become comfortable and relaxed with the situation and the interviewer. Next is the body of the interview. The body of the interview is the heart of the process. In this stage, the interviewer asks questions in an attempt to generate an information and data that are required for the purpose. This is followed by a sequence of questions, and I'll be discussing it later. Here comes the last and final stage, that is the closing of the interview. While closing the interviewer should summarize what he or she has been able to gather. One should end with a discussion of the next step to be taken. When the interview is ending, the interviewer should give a chance to the interviewee to ask questions or offer comments. Sequence of question. To accomplish the purpose of an interview, the interviewer prepares a set of questions, also called as a schedule, for different domains or categories he or she wants to cover. To do this, the interviewer must first decide on the domains and categories under which information is to be gathered. The categories and the questions within them are framed ranging from easy to answer to difficult to answer, and questions are also formulated to assess facts as well as subjective assessment. Types of interview questions. Direct questions. They are explicit and require specific information. For example, where did you last work? Open-ended question. They are less direct and specify only the topic. For example, how happy were you with your job on the whole? Close-ended questions. They provide response alternatives, narrowing the response variation. For example, do you think knowledge of a product or communication skill is more important for a salesman? Bipolar question. It is a form of close-ended question and it requires a yes or no response. For example, would you like to work for the company? Leading question. It encourages a response in favor of a specific answer. For example, wouldn't you say you are in favor of having officers' union in the company? Mirror question. They are intended to get a person to reflect on what she or he had said and expand on it. For example, you said I work so hard but I am unable to get success. Please explain as to why this happens. Answering interview questions. If you do not understand the question, ask for clarification. Please state the question in your answer and answer one question at a time. Try Try to turn negative questions into positive ones and maintain positive vibe.
Counseling skills. Another prerequisite or essential requirement for developing as a psychologist is the competence in counseling and guidance. To develop it, psychologists undergo proper training and education under guided supervision. The consequences of getting into a wrong vocation are pretty serious. If a person enters a job for which she or he does not have requisite aptitude, she or he can develop serious problems of adjustments, develop negative emotions, suffer from inferiority complex, etc. These difficulties may then come to be projected onto someone else. Contrary to this, if anyone who takes a vocation for which she or he is well adapted, there will be considerable satisfaction in doing the job well. The positive feeling thus generated would have tremendous impact on overall life adjustment. Counseling is also one such domain where a person entering the field is required to engage in self-introspection in order to assess her or his inclination and basic skill set for being effective in her or his vocation. Meaning and nature of counseling. Counseling provides a system for planning the interview, analyzing the counselor's and client's behavior, and determining the developmental impact on the client. A counselor is most often interested in building an understanding of the client's problem by focusing on what understanding the client has of her or his problem and how she or he feels about it. Objective facts are less important. Feelings and acknowledgement of clients are more important. The focus is more on the person and how she or he defines their problem. Counseling involves helping relationship that includes someone seeking help and someone willing to give help who is capable of or trained to help in a setting that permits help to be given and received. Elements of counseling. The following elements about counseling are common to the major theoretical approaches to counseling. First one, counseling involves responding to the feelings, thoughts, and actions of the clients. Second one, counseling involves a basic acceptance of the client's perceptions and feelings without using any evaluative standards. Third one, confidentiality and privacy constitute essential ingredients in the counseling setting. Physical facilities that preserve this quality are important. Fourth one, counseling is voluntary. It takes place when a client approaches a counselor. A counselor never uses any kind of coercion for obtaining information. Fifth one, counselors and clients both transmit and receive verbal and non-verbal messages during the process. Therefore, awareness and sensitivity to the nature of the message is an important prerequisite for a counselor's effectiveness. Breaking the myths of counseling. Counseling is not merely giving information. Counseling is not giving advice. Counseling is not selection and placement of individuals onto jobs or for courses. Counseling is not the same as interviewing, though interviewing may be involved. Counseling is not influencing attitudes, beliefs, and behavior by persuading, admonishing, threatening, or compelling.
Developing effective relationships. For most people who seek help from a counselor, effective or satisfying relationships are almost non-existent or infrequent. Since change in behavior is often created and supported by a network of social support, it is essential for clients to start developing more positive relationships with other persons. Counseling usually has an all-inclusive outcome for the clients. Effective behavioral change that takes place in the client is multifaceted. It may show up in the form of a client taking greater responsibility, developing new insight, learning to engage in different behaviors, and making an effort to develop more effective relationships. There are four main characteristics for an effective helper. Authenticity. The client must build trust in the counselor, hence, keeping the personal facts and information authentic is a way to entrust. Authenticity means that your behavioral expressions are consistent with what you value and the way you feel and related to your inner self-image. Positive regard for others. Feelings get minimized when counselor extends positive regard to a client by accepting that it is alright to feel the way the client is feeling. This helps in creating a counselor relationship. The trust is the most important factor that can help in building relationship. Some guidelines that should be kept in mind in order to show positive regard. Always you, I message instead of you message. Example, avoid using comments like you should not. Instead, try using I understand. Respond to what the other person has said after checking with him or her. Never be mute. Give to the person the freedom to share feelings or anything she wants to say. Do not interrupt them. Do not assume that the other person knows what you are thinking. Share what you have to say after listening their part. Do not label either yourself or the other person. Example, you are an introvert. Never say it. Empathy. This is one of the most critical competencies that a counselor needs to have. You have already read in chapter 5 that empathy is the ability of a counselor to understand the feelings of another person from his or her perspective. It is like stepping into someone else's shoes and trying to understand the pain and troubled feelings of the other person. There is a difference between sympathy and empathy. In sympathy, you play the savior. You may think that someone deserves your kindness. Paraphrasing. This skill involves the ability of a counselor to reflect on what the client says and feel using different words. Basically, it means sharing your feelings in your own words. Ethics of counseling. Knowledge of ethical or professional codes, standards and guidelines, knowledge of statutes, rules, regulations and case law relevant to practice of psychology. Recognize and analyze ethical and legal issues across a range of professional activities in the clinical setting. Recognize and understand the ethical dimensions or features of his or her own attitudes and practice in the clinical setting. Seek appropriate information and consultation when faced with ethical issues. Practice appropriate professional assertiveness related to ethical issues.